welcome to class tonight. Tonight's class is a class on making meals from basic food storage. I'm super excited about teaching this class because it's something that I need to learn, that I need to put into better practice in my family, and when I teach, I always learn. So let's get started with tonight's class. In January, we talked about having insurance for your house. Everybody who owns a house has house insurance for your house. And you have that in case something happens. You never buy house insurance or car insurance thinking that something is going to happen next week. You hope nothing ever happens. And that is kind of how I think of long-term food storage. Because long-term food storage can be stored for so long, most of it can be stored for 30 or more years, then it's something you don't have to rotate. You don't have to worry about rotating it so much because, I mean, a lot of us are getting to the age, if you bought it now, it would probably be good long after you're dead. So, you know, then you don't have to rotate that, but your kids need to. And I actually use a lot of my food storage, and so I am already rotating it. So I call that food insurance. And tonight that's what we're going to talk about, is how to make meals from your food insurance. All right, so what is basic food storage? This is an example of stuff from the Home Storage Center. It is by far, we talked about the last few months, the cheapest way to get your basic food storage. It's about $500 to get a year's supply for one person. And in your handouts that you got tonight, you saw that listed there. If you follow that list, you have a year's supply for one person. So it's this long-term stuff, the grains, the beans. It also has a few other things, adding some oil, adding some leavening agents. Those are all going to be things that are important to be able to make some of the things that you were able to taste in the tasting table today. So it is life-sustaining food. It's not gourmet food by any means, but it is life-sustaining. It only weighs about 500 pounds, which works out to about $1 a pound for food. That is a very good investment for something that will last you for 30 years. Probably better than anything else you're going to buy on the market right now that will last that long for only $1 a pound. And it will sustain your life. It won't be great, but it has all the calories that you need. So, I know that you're thinking, but it's so boring. When you look at just basic food storage, it's wheat, it's rice, it's pasta, it's beans. I have a couple different kinds of beans in mine. It's some fruit. It's just really the foundation of what we already normally eat. Most of us do anyway, eat this kind of stuff normally. But we just don't usually cook from scratch. And so gives you enough nutrition to be able to last for a whole year. Now, would it be great to have some other things added in? Of course it would. Who would just want to eat this? So we're going to talk a little bit and see some ideas of things that you can eat. So I am saying you're absolutely right that it is totally boring. So we're going to get past that. All right. One of the things that you were able to try tonight is a oatmeal cup and some oatmeal muffins. Did not taste a whole lot better than plain oatmeal. And it was just by adding a few cheap things that are shelf stable that you can have as part of your storage. All right, so let's talk about some ideas for basic food storage. All right, wheat, for instance. Wheat can be used. You can just basically hydrate it, right? You can cook it. You can make it in its own main dishes, in salads, in a lot of other things. I don't really like wheat that way. It's a little too chewy for me that way. I like to grind mine up. But one of the things you also tried tonight was blender pancakes. Blender pancakes, how many of you actually have made blender pancakes before? All right, blender pancakes are so easy. We have a video that's going up on my website where we show you how to do them. But all you do is you don't have to grind the wheat. You just put the wheat kernels in, and you're going to be using powdered milk, so you're just adding water. You're going to blend it up until it's smooth. It takes about 3 minutes. And then you're just adding in some baking soda, some milk powder, some egg powder or eggs, depending on what you want to be using, and some honey or some sugar, and you blend it for another minute, and it makes the delicious pancakes. It's so healthy, it's so fast, it's like magic. And so it is the perfect way to start using your wheat in your food storage, and your family will be so impressed. especially your grandkids. You just pull out the blender, start letting them throw things in, and they're able to make pancakes. So they're great. So that's a super easy way. I make a lot of bread. I make a lot of bread with stuff. I love eating wheat bread. My kids grew up with wheat bread, and so they never even like to eat white bread. They only would eat wheat bread. So there's lots of ways you can do it. Lots of different kinds of breads and muffins and cookies and things that you can use wheat for. It's the basis of anything that's baked and even things that aren't baked. So a lot of ways that you can use wheat, and you're already eating it, you just might be eating it in different forms. The next thing we're talking about is oats. Now, if all you have in your food storage is just oats and oil and salt, and some sugar, you're going to basically be eating some just oatmeal over and over and over again. And you do have enough in your food storage to eat a bowl of oatmeal every day. But you might not want to eat a bowl of oatmeal every day. You might want to have it in muffins or in cookies or in those take-along like oatmeal cups that you had today. And you can even put that in bread also. So oatmeal can be used for a lot of different kinds of things also. It's not just a bowl of oatmeal. And it's really healthy for you. It's really high in fiber, and it's really good for diabetics and everyone else because it helps your food break down easier. In fact, all these whole grains are like that. Those are both things that you tried over on the tasting table tonight. Oh, that little girl's face, that's to let you know you can also make a scrub out of it if you wanted to do that. Or you could take an oatmeal bath. So beans are one of the things that I have people all the time say, my husband won't eat beans, my kids won't eat beans, somebody in the family won't eat beans. How many of you don't eat beans on a regular basis? Okay, so that's like a third of you. All right, well, I'm here to tell you that there are so many ways to sneak beans into your food without you even knowing they're there. You can have beans in just main dishes. You can have beans in salads. You can have beans in brownies. And if you go online and just do a Google search for Weight Watcher brownies, this is what you're going to get, this recipe. All it is a package of brownie mix, and instead of using the oil, you use a can of black beans, you blend it up in your blender, you add that with your eggs, and that's your brownies. Super easy. Another thing that you can do, I don't know if you remember these, pork and bean sandwiches. How many of you ate these as a kid? I know my mom ate these, and I ate them sometimes. So beans can not only go on your bread, but they can go in your bread. You can grind dried beans up into bean flour, and you can replace that in bread, regular bread recipes. 25% of the bean flour can replace regular flour, and in your bread, no one will even know it's in there, and it'll just make regular bread. So another way to sneak beans in. Now when you're sneaking beans in, you want to make sure that you're not using black beans in your white bread, because it might be a little noticeable. So brownies get black beans, pinto beans go in fudge. There's all kinds of things out there ways to do it. I do white beans when I do oatmeal cookies. I do them in, you can't even tell. Oatmeal cookies are great because that already has the fiber of the oats in there, so nobody even knows you have beans in there. So that's another way. One of the best things about, and one of the most important things about having beans and using them as part of your food storage, which is why 60 pounds of your food storage is beans, is because it makes the complete protein when it's combined with any whole grain. So pretty much all the rest of your food storage, if it's eaten within a couple of days of eating beans, it makes a complete protein. So you don't have to have any other kinds of protein if you've got beans and grains. That also works with grains and milk. It also makes a complete proteins, which is why we have milk powder. And it's why they used to have 100 pounds of milk powder as part of your food storage. They've cut that down to only 16 pounds now. So it's a lot cheaper, but you get a lot less milk. But that was why they did it, because of the protein. All right, rice. All of us probably eat rice. Some of us eat rice on an everyday basis. And you can use rice just as its own dish. You can use it as a side dish. Tonight we had some beans and rice. That makes a complete protein. I'm not kidding, I think every country in the world has some kind of bean and rice recipe, whether it's lentils or some other kind of beans. Pretty much everywhere in the world has some kind of dish that is a bean and rice dish. So there is so many, just changing up the spices is going to give, and changing the kinds of beans you have will give you a completely different kind of dish. Let's see. What's that? Oh, you can grind your rice up and make tortillas with them. It's what gluten-free people do. is one of the things that go in gluten-free tortillas, is rice flour. You can also, this is something I used to eat in junior high and high school. They had it in the cafeteria for 10 cents, a scoop of rice and gravy on it. And so just, I'm telling you, it tastes so good. And my really picky daughter, I made it for her one night when she was like in high school, and she's like, Mom, this is so good. So just having some gravy mixes or having some things at the house that you can make now turns your plain gravy into something. Cooking it with some bouillon gives it some flavor. There's a lot of things you can do with rice that you don't have to just eat it plain, because the very first time I ever did a basic food storage class, I took what you could eat and made without anything extra, and let me tell you, eating plain beans and rice twice a day and oatmeal in the morning, just not that exciting. So having some other things is going to make you open up your food storage. You also can make rice milk from your rice. It's really easy to make too. All right, pasta. Pasta also can be used as a main dish, kind of on its own, where you just add a few things to it. You can use it, it's really good mixed with beans in soups and stews and all kinds of main dishes. And you also can use it as salads. You can even use it as desserts. And you can even use it for Christmas presents, cute little decorations. It's like the Mormon Tabernacle Pasta Choir. So, pasta can be used a lot of ways. I just went to an elementary school today. They use it to make cute little necklaces. So, you can use pasta in a lot of ways. I happen to love pasta, and this is the thing about pasta. Store the kind of pasta that you eat. We eat a lot of penne pasta. We eat ancient hair pasta. I eat little pasta. And so store the kind of pasta that you eat. And if you're going to do that, you can't do that from the Bishop Storehouse, because they only have the spaghetti bites and macaroni. But you can go to like Sam's Club and get buckets and just fill it up with the kind of pasta that you like, and it stores for a really long time. Put a gam seal on it, you're good to go. Okay, pasta. Potatoes. Now, a lot of people don't think of potatoes as basic food storage, but it does add an element of food storage that you don't get other ways. And it is something that after World War II, a lot of Europe survived on, eating mostly potatoes. So it does give you a little bit of variety, and it's pretty cheap. So things you can make. Obviously, you can make mashed potatoes. The Bishop Storehouse offers either the just add water mashed potatoes, or they have potato flakes, which are just not mashed potatoes. You have to add the butter and the milk to them to make mashed potatoes. But they can be used for a lot of other things. You can put them in bread. When you put them in bread, it makes your bread a lot fluffier. In fact, it is what Spud Nuts uses in their donuts, which is why they're so light and fluffy, because they have potato in them. And you don't have to use fresh potato. You can use just potato flakes and add some water to them. That's all you need, is to do the kind of potatoes that you're putting in bread or in donuts. You can also use them as a thickener in sauces and in gravies or in soups. You can actually make sort of like it's called gnocchi. It's like a potato pasta. And it's super easy to make, and it's basically made with potato flakes and water and a couple of other things. And the chocolate cake you had tonight was made with potato flakes. So lots of things that you can put potato flakes in that gives you that nutrition and those carbs, which you will need for energy. You don't so much need them when you're losing weight, but you will need them when you're wanting to keep weight on. So lots of things you can use potatoes for. All right, what do I have? Oh, the Bishop Storehouse does not sell this, but as a big part of my food storage, I have hash browns and potato cubes. What do they call them? Diced potatoes, yes. Because I use those in my soups and stews and things. And in fact, you can get them, you can buy them just at Costco, and I think Sam's Club both sell them now in little sort of milk cartons. They're great to have. In fact, most restaurants are using dehydrated potatoes now for their hash browns. So, just so you know, you might be eating them and not even know. All right, milk. Don't you just love that little boy? So cute, so excited about drinking this milk. Some of you might not think that way about drinking powdered milk. But powdered milk has come a long way in recent years. It tastes much, much better. And the milk from the home storage centers are by far the cheapest milk. It's about $2 a gallon, which other food storage companies, they can be up to $8 a gallon. So super cheaper to get it that way. You only need a case, which is 12 packages for a year's supply, but that only gives you 1 cup of milk a day. So if you have children, or you're nursing, or you just like a lot of milk, you're going to want to store more milk than that. You can use it in, what is that? Oh, that's a cream soups. You can make cream soups with it. You can make gravies with it. You can make pudding with it. You can make all kinds of cheeses with powdered milk. You can make cream cheese, sour cream, country cheese. You can even make mozzarella cheese with it, and it's not hard. Add a little bit of vanilla to your milk. It'll make it taste better. Having it really cold makes it taste really good. It tastes a lot better too. There's a lot of tricks out there to make your powdered milk taste better. All right, so what kind of meals can you make with your basic food storage? And how many of you have actually thought about that? So this past couple of weeks, I put a lot of thought and research into finding some ways for all of us to be able to make meals with our basic food storage a lot easier. And I found some tricks that I think are really going to help you that I did not find right off the bat. All right, number 1. What else do you need? Oh, I can't read. All right, leavenings. Leavenings include yeast. This is my yeast. So I don't know how many of you know, but yeast will store for 10 years in your freezer. If you get them in those like hermetically sealed 1 pound or 2 pound packages, you just put a date on them and throw them in the back of your freezer where you can forget about them. And then about once a year, I take out a new cap and I put it in this and keep it in my fridge, and it'll last me for a year. Yeast is a big thing. If you want things to be able to rise, you have to have some leavenings. Otherwise, you'll just be eating lots of crackers, basically. Also, baking soda and baking powder are also leavenings. Now, some of you might think that these don't store for very long because you've been told they only store for a year, especially baking powder. That is a falsity. It is not true. Baking powder is double acting. The things that activate it are moisture and heat. So if you don't have it someplace hot and you have it someplace where it can't get moisture, it will store indefinitely, and so does baking soda. So these are both things that you can buy in bulk from your big box stores and just store them away and know that you can make a lot of different things rise with those. Spices and seasonings. This is all, a lot of this is going to have to do with what you're cooking. Like, what do you put in your chili? What do you put in your charro beans that we had tonight? You know, what kinds of things you're going to be making. So as you're gathering recipes, you're going to be gathering new spices that you want to have as your storage. Flavorings, including bouillon and vanilla. I'm going to talk about vanilla in a minute. And the bouillon. So let's talk about vanilla first. This is my favorite vanilla. It's Mexican vanilla. You can get it from Vallarta for about $6 for this. And I bought this in 2017. And I don't know how many of you have opened regular vanilla when it's 10 years old, but it usually tastes and smells more like alcohol than it does vanilla. This still smells like it's brand new. It lasts a really long time and I think has the best flavor of any vanilla. So this is a great thing to have as part of your flavorings and part of your food storage. Bouillons. You can get bouillons either in powder form or you can get them in these, well, this one's actually powder. And this one is not. This one is like a more soft one that you keep in the fridge. But in a lot of the bean recipes, they use, especially bean recipes, they use a lot of ham and a lot of bacon to give it flavor. But if I'm not having that as part of my food storage, I can have this so I get the flavor in there without having to store the expense of the ham. So getting bouillons is a huge idea for getting flavor into your storage, whether you're cooking your rice in it or whether you're using it to flavor your soups or your stews or whatever you're making. But having and looking into these, and they come in all different flavors and all different kinds. So just, look out there. I actually bought these on Amazon because you can't really, it's hard to find ham ones in the grocery stores. So I'm excited because this is powder. This will last a lot. This will last longer. Sounds like powder. Okay. Let's see. Where's my phone? Okay. Egg powder. How how many of you have used egg powder before? Okay, so if anybody wants to do baking, there's two things you can do. If you're vegan, you already don't cook with eggs when you're baking. And so if you want to learn how to cook without storing egg, or if you don't have your own chickens and you don't want to store egg powder, there are tricks that you can learn. And I would just go on to like vegan baking websites. They will tell you the things. It's basically vinegar, baking powder, and one other thing that I can't think of, that you combine to make, I think it's water, that you combine in place of the eggs to make your stuff rise. I don't know how well it works because I haven't used it, but it is an egg replacement. There are egg replacement things on the market, but they're not that cheap. So I'm telling you, if you want to store eggs, just get eggs. Eggs have come down, they've come down in half. They're about $25 a can. They store a very long time. So eggs are great. Now, these kind of eggs, these ones that are just powdered eggs, whole powdered eggs, are not good for making, if you're planning on cooking scrambled eggs, this is not what you want. It tastes disgusting. But it does. It's really gross. Anyone who tells you it tastes like fresh eggs is crazy. But it does work really well in baked items. And so it is a nice thing to have as part of your storage. Fats, so you want to have oils. Oils, after World War II, it was a huge thing. They did not have very much oil, and your brain stops functioning very well when you don't have oil in your diet. We are so over-fat saturated in our country that we don't even think about that. We always think about trying to get rid of the oil and the fat. But you really do need oil and fat in your diet. And so the recommendation is 4 gallons of it. So my oil is broken up into olive oil, vegetable oil, and shortening. I have Crisco shortening, not off brands, just Crisco, and I have it in regular and in butter flavored, and it also stores a really long time. It is also in my garage. My garage is insulated, so I'm just telling you, it's not as hot as most people's. But it has been in there. It is, the stuff I'm opening right now is 7 and 8 years old, and it tastes just like I just bought it. So it stores really well until it's opened, and then you know, like any other shortening, you got to use it up pretty fast. Other things you want to have, I call them the big 3. It's sort of like what you use the basis for any basically soups, is onions, carrots, and dried celery. Those are all dehydrated. Carrots and onions you can get from the Bishop Storehouse. Celery you can get somewhere else, or you can dehydrate your own. It's really easy to do. Those are just flavor things. It's to give flavor to your stuff. In addition to that, tomato stuff. Most of us probably use canned tomatoes. Have some extra around of that. I love tomato powder. I don't know how many of you have ever used it. It's really easy to make. You can just grow your own tomatoes, dry them, and grind them up. That's all tomato powder is. But it adds so much flavor and a lot of vitamin C to whatever that you're cooking. So I use that for a lot of different stuff. I use it in place of tomato paste these days. Anything that's tomato, you can make with tomato powder. So that's another really good way to add flavor to food. And then adding fruits. When you get to the point that you want to, so fruits and vegetables, once you've got your basic stuff that you can cook with, you can start adding fruits, dehydrated fruits and vegetables, and freeze-dried stuff, but just be careful. Freeze-dried stuff is not all it's cracked up to be, so just saying, that's a whole other class. We're going to do it later in the fall. Would you like to go home with a complete menu and shopping list tonight of how to do a year supply, or how to do a menu for a basic year supply? Yes. Me too. And I totally wish I had a magic wand that I could just wave, and you guys can have all your customized list and menu planner of what you needed. I wish I could have that. But like I said earlier, it's really hard to do that because we all eat so differently. So I'm going to give you some helpful hints, and then I have a challenge for you. So my helpful hints are this. When you are planning your meals, don't think about doing 3 meals a day. If you're actually living off your food supply, and most of us now, even now, at least I do, only eat 2 meals a day anyway. So think about the 2 meals you eat and just plan for that. Don't worry about planning for 3. Just say plan for 2. That's mostly what they did back in the days of the pioneers. They didn't usually eat 3 meals a day. Or maybe they did, but they ate leftovers for one of their meals. All right. Keep it simple. Don't go all wacky with saying, oh, you know, I could do all this stuff. I'm telling you, the simpler it is, the cheaper it is to store, and the easier it is to make. Most of the stuff we made tonight was not made with very many ingredients, and it all tasted really good. So keep it simple. Convert your recipes. This is really probably one of my biggest hints I'm going to get you. Most of you already have recipes that easily can be converted into using your basic food storage with adding a few things to it. So start with that. You might need to replace the meat with some kind of bouillon or store meat if you want to do that. You might need to figure out, oh, this has all these fresh vegetables in it. What can I do to replace that? And learn how to do that. But most of your recipes right now that you have can be converted into whatever. And those are the things you already like. So start with that. Start finding some things already in your recipes that you can make. I made the mistake of doing too general of searches, like foods, you know, basic food storage. They don't know what that means out in the world. So search for what I can make with oatmeal, breads I can make with oatmeal. Be super specific in what you're looking for, and you will get a lot better ideas for what you want. Pinterest. How many of you do Pinterest? Okay, if you don't, you might want to think about doing Pinterest just for these reasons. Pinterest is a great way to find recipes and ideas for doing things that have to do with food storage. Well, it has to do with not just food storage on Pinterest. They have tons of ideas on everything. But same thing with Pinterest. If you're going to search, make sure you're searching for something very specific and not just I did just general food storage and I got food storage containers. So you just need to, you know, look for specific things. Bean and rice recipes. Another thing that I learned was looking for one-pot meals, and we skipped the vegetarian one. I didn't see it because I can't see that far. Okay, vegetarian. If you do searches for vegetarian, you're going to cut out all the stuff with meat in it, so it already simplifies your food right down, especially your bean and rice kind of recipes and pastas. So if you do searches for vegetarian stuff, you'll get a lot of meals that are going to be super easy to convert into using your basic food storage. And then things that can be done in one pot also, that means it's going to be something easy. Although some one-pot things have you put things in the pot, out of the pot, and to me that's not a one-pot meal. I want to be able to just dump it all in. And usually, like the recipe to make the pancake mix, the recipe that I grew up with, you just put everything in at once and ground it up. I've never seen we had to do it separate, so I didn't even try that. And a lot of the recipes we use tonight, I already had changed them because they were like, do this and then take it out of the pot, and do this, and I'm like, you don't need to do that. Just throw it all in, add the water, or whatever it is, and cook it. Oh, on my old website, pieceofpreparedness.com, there are literally thousands of recipes using food storage. And it's all broken down by oats and rice and beans, so you can go in and find lots of ideas. And then print the recipes. Don't just, because if you're like me, you get a recipe and you're like, where did I get that? What did I do with it? Print it out and put it in a folder for you to use so you'll have it for later. And then once you find recipes, then start adding your other ingredients to your storage so that you have things to be able to make them with. Because it doesn't do any good to have the recipes if you don't have the things to make it. And I'm telling you, that you don't need a lot of other things to be able to turn this into meals. All right, so you're going to do a menu plan, and you're going to be writing down your extra ingredients of what you need. To the question that I asked earlier, will it be enough? I don't know. I know this is enough calories to survive on. I don't know whether or not it's the right combination for me to be able to make the kind of meals I'm going to make, and I won't know that until I have my menu plan all done for the year. And I can say, oh, I'm going to make oatmeal 30 times. Okay, I've got plenty of oatmeal. I want to make oatmeal cookies this many times. Okay, I've still got enough oatmeal. See what I'm saying? I may find at the end of my year, this next year, as I'm putting recipes together, that I need more of penne pasta and less macaroni pasta. And that's what figuring it out for yourself, so you're customizing it to your family. So I want to tell you a little story, a little reminder, which you probably already know and are already into doing some food storage and preparedness, so you probably wouldn't be here. But I just heard a story today that I thought fit perfectly for the class. So there's two missionaries. Some were on the East Coast. One of them had just gotten out on the mission. The other one had been there for a while. And they were in a mission where they did not get to go to dinners to people's houses. So they had to budget their money that they got and have it last, the whole week or two or however long they get their money. And they did not do a very good job at that. And they did such a poor job that by Friday, after scrounging through every single cupboard and eating every single thing in their house, they had nothing left to eat. And so they scrounged through the couches and they found $1.65, and they went to the grocery store to see what they could find for their $1.65 that could last them through the weekend for 3 days until Monday when they got money again. So they go in, and first, I forgot what they started out with first, but then secondly they found rice. They thought they would do rice, but they could only get so much rice. And then they found, this is my favorite, birdseed. Birdseed was on sale for only 50 cents a pound, so they bought birdseed. They looked at the ingredients and they realized, hey, I grew up a lot of this. It has millet in it, it has, I don't even know what else it had in it, but it had other things in it. And so they took it home and they put it in a pot with some water and they cooked it and they cooked it and they cooked it. And some of it never got soft. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't break a tooth on it. Some of it just stayed really hard and some of it just turned to mush right away. But either way, it was disgusting. And the first day, they sort of choked it down. By day 2, they realized they were not going to choke that down the second day. And so they had a meeting with the rest of the missionaries, and they had to go and confess their little predicament to all the other missionaries, who of course laughed at them. And so they figured out a way to feed them. But the lesson I learned from that was, I have heard and I hear all the time people tell me, oh, I'll just eat whatever, if there's not food at the grocery store, I'll just eat this one thing over and over again. But if you don't know how to use it, and you don't know how to make anything with it, you don't have the equipment to do it, you're not going to be doing that. That's what happened in Europe after World War II, was that the older people and the younger people were dying from starvation. They had plenty of potatoes, they had plenty of some other things to eat, but they'd been eating it for months on end. And so the kids and the older people just stopped eating, and they eventually starved to death. Not all of them, but some of them. And so that whole story about, well, if you're hungry enough, you'll eat anything, it might be true shortly, but that doesn't mean you're going to survive, and it doesn't mean that you will eat everything. And if you don't have food stored to make anything with, you have no chance of surviving. So start adding to that a little bit every month. So when the grocery stores are bare, for whatever reason, whether it's a strike, whether it's inflation that's terrible, whether it's what's happening in Argentina, you will have your own storehouse at home that you can depend on to feed yourself and feed your family. And you'll have the little extras to go with it so that you will be able to make meals with it. I'm challenging you to keep on the path to preparedness. I love this picture because he obviously went off the path for a while. And now he's going to get back on the path again. And I think all of us are kind of like that. Sometimes we're really good at being on the path and we're working on things a little bit at a time, and sometimes we just totally forget about it and get caught up in other things. So I'm hoping that you keep coming to the classes, you bring people with you, and that you'll take the challenges that you've heard tonight. Keep adding to your long-term food storage. Look for and try the recipes. And I can't emphasize enough the trying part. Because a lot of times, like for instance, this week I tried a new recipe, looked really good. I thought I could convert it into a food storage recipe, but we had it the way that it was intended that night, and half the people in my family loved it. My husband had like thirds on it. The other rest, I ate it, but it's not something that I would probably ever eat again. So it's really important that you try this stuff. You can break the recipes down so you don't have to make a whole recipe, but try it and make sure that you actually like it enough to get the other things to make it. Organize your recipes into a notebook and then buy your add-ons so that you can make meals. The whole idea is to turn this into meals, and it has to be turned into meals in your head too and on your shelves. So I hope you just take the totals on there and fill in where you need to. I know at least that will give you a whole year's supply. I can't tell you how many people have told me that they had a year's supply of stuff One of the families I went to, they had 5 kids and 2 adults. They literally had 1 bucket of wheat, like 5 buckets or 5 cases of milk that was really old and had been stored in their garage, so it probably wasn't good, and sugar. And that's all they had. And they thought that that was a year's supply. So, this is, it's about 20 boxes to make a year's supply of basic food storage. It can fit under a bed. It stores for 30 years. There's no reason not to get it. So, I challenge you, do your food storage and come back next month. And thanks for coming.